Hello, BookTube, and welcome to March Mystery Madness. It's a big BookTube event all over BookTube. Everybody's talking about it. It's the talk of the town. Dozens of BookTubers celebrating all things murder mystery all throughout the month of March with all kinds of celebrations. I'm sure if you're following a lot of the other channels that are doing March Mystery Madness, then you are probably getting the full scope of how we're handling this event. I'm doing things in a fairly narrow way on this channel. I'm just dealing with new releases. I'm not really talking about anything. I'm not really talking about anything old. Here's a little bean shot for you. since she's acting up, she might as well be on camera. Who are they? Who are those people, Frida? You want to bite them all, don't you? You can't, but you want to. You want to bite them all. I've been mostly dealing on this channel with new releases and using them to explore all the different kinds of mysteries that we talked about when the month started. With the umbrella of murder mysteries as a genre covers an enormous variety of variations. And today I want to talk about one that I have been saying all along on this channel, I admit, always gives me pause. Because it's the cozy murder mystery. And the reason it gives me pause is because they seem, as the name implies, to put a strong premium on comfort. And yet, they're murders. they're kicked off by someone dying. It's only very rarely these days that you have a cozy murder mystery, a cozy mystery series, in which the inciting incident is not a murder. Sometimes theft or whatever, but usually somebody dies, and that always strikes me as a discordant note on just at the very heart of what a murder mystery is. And yet some of these things are done so well, they're just so enjoyable, so goofy, that I fall under the spell same as anybody else. And I imagine there are quite a few of you who like cozy mysteries a lot more than I do. But the one I want to show you today is one. There are two ongoing cozy mystery series on the market right now that I absolutely love. They're both contemporaries. They're not historical. They don't take place in little English villages. And I want to show you one of them today. This is by Vivian Chen, and it is Murder Lo Mein, her follow-up to the Dim Sum of All Fears. And if you look in the plate, you will see a skull. the noodles are making a skull. A classic murder mystery cover. I want to read you a little about this. This is most heartily I recommend. The Dim Sum of All Fears and this are most heartily I recommend. Author Vivian Chen knows the way to a cozy reader's heart is through their stomachs. She continuously proves that this throughout her Noodle Shop Mysteries. In the next installment in this tasty series, amateur sleuth Lana Lee is back to run the Ho Lee Noodle House, work on her love life, and solve more crime. Everyone agrees that the food at Ho Lee Noodle House is delicious, unless it happens to be deadly. Lana Lee's stake in her family's Chinese restaurant is higher than ever now that she's been made manager. But when she enters Ho Lee into Cleveland's best noodle contest, Lana makes it her business to win at all costs. But when a local food critic receives a threatening note in a fortune cookie and is later found dead, face down in a bowl of lo mein, all bets are off. Now, along with her sweet and sour boyfriend, Detective Adam Trudeau, Lana decides to take matters into her own hands and dig into the lives of everyone involved in the contest. But when she receives an ill-fated fortune, Lana realizes that in order to save the reputation of her restaurant, she needs to save herself first. So as far as cozy murder mysteries go, there are going to be some broad comedic bits. One of them that I've noticed in a lot of cozy murder mysteries that I've read is that, yes, there has to be a murder, and yes, that is a little discordant with being cozy and having fun, which is the goal of these books. And the way that authors tend to do that is by having the person who gets murdered kind of sort of deserve it. In this case, you need say no more than that the dead person is a critic. So that's gimmick number one. Gimmick number two, of course, this is not the first time that it's been done, but I still crack up every time an author tries to do this with a straight face, and that is the death note in the fortune cookie. So there have been three of these. This is the third one. The first one was Death by Dumpling. The second one was the dim sum of all fears. And here we have Murder Lo Mein. This is a wonderful series. It will not tax you in any way. The jokes often land. The romantic sparks between our main character and the detective are controlled, and they don't interfere. They don't interfere with the plot all that much. There's not all that much of a plot. And like the first two books, this third one, the solution is fairly easy to guess fairly early on. I don't get the impression, I mean, a lot of you have read a lot more cozy mysteries than I have. I don't get the impression that unsolvability, that impenetrability of plot, is a really big selling point in these things. I get the impression that it doesn't really matter how well the killer hides their tracks. The point is the atmosphere. The point is the little village, or the little restaurant, or the little flower shop, or whatever it is, little being the key here, that you want to get to know these people and into their orderly and very tiny little world comes the disruption of a murder. And the juxtaposition there is meant to be funny. This tiny little association that is, by its very nature, utterly ill-equipped to investigate a murder, suddenly must do that. And I'm wondering, am I getting that right? I admit, cozy mysteries are not my cup of tea, I was going to say. Sometimes it's inevitable when you're dealing with a book like this. I really liked Murder Lo Mein. I have to admit, the dim sum of all fears is my favorite so far in this series, but this was really good as well. And I'm curious to know if I'm getting it right. Those of you who read a lot more cozy mysteries than I do, why do you read them? It's obviously not for the high-stakes drama. So is it for the low-stakes drama, for the people, for the slow-budding relationships, for the almost inevitable presence of food and cats? I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know, those of you, since I'm assuming that those of you who love murder mysteries are the people who are paying the most attention to these March Mystery Madness videos, how big a part of your mystery reading is cozy mysteries? In the whole spectrum that we're talking about, from the grittiest police procedurals and thrillers, where in thrillers, the opacity of the crime and the intricacy of how to solve it are almost beside the point, for the intuition of the detective and the depravity of the villain. You get that all the way to the other end with stuff like crossword puzzle mysteries, noodle mysteries, clam shop mysteries, stuff like that, all the way to the other end of the cozy mystery series, and everything in between. On that spectrum, how much of your mystery reading is taken up by cozies? And why? Why do you go for a cozy mystery when you go for one? Is it the same thing that I've mentioned many times on this channel, that sometimes when I've read the latest forensic study of the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, or a gigantic 1,000-page work on capitalism by French mountebank with his head so far up his asteroid that he can barely see the sky. I've made many mentions on this channel that when I have been deep down such roads, sometimes in order to get my equilibrium back, I will read a Regency romance. Specifically, an old-fashioned signet Regency romance. They don't all have pigs on the cover. In fact, this is the only one I know of that does. But is that why you do this? As a literary palate cleanser? I would love to know. I have never, I think it's just good luck, but I have never encountered a cozy mystery. I've read probably, I don't know, well, I've read quite a few of them, but I have never somehow managed to encounter one when I wasn't in the mood for one. And I'm wondering now, is that happenstance, or do they sort of put you in the mood? That's my March Mystery Madness for today. It's a new cozy murder mystery. It's probably $9 in your bookstore. Actually, does the pub sheet have a date? Here's hoping it's a March book. Yeah, it comes out at the end of March. So this one's not out yet, unless they're not caring about strict on sale dates. If they are, then it comes out on the last Tuesday of March. I highly recommend it. I recommend all the 3 books in this series. If you like cozy murder mysteries, you're going to love this. Does everything right. But in this case, I'm curious to know your feedback as well. I always am. But in this case, a lot of you will be much more familiar with this kind of murder mystery than I am. I've known one person in my life, only one, who read nothing but cozy murder mysteries. She read nothing but cozies. And they had to be very cozy. She had a very strict set of criteria about how much could happen in that book and what kinds of things could. I always wanted to ask her, doesn't it get just a little bit tedious after a while? Don't you ever want a serial killer? But let me know. So I'm gonna wrap up. That's gonna be my March Mystery Madness for today. But we will be back tomorrow. We have plenty more murder mysteries to talk about, and plenty more kinds. So I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.